We are go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Hit the record button.
That's swell.
Italo's Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Italo's Blog Talk Radio. And this time around, guys, you will be able to see both me, Italo, and my guest, Jessalyn, on the screen. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you are watching us figure out Zoom and how it works. But yes, it was a wonderful show and a wonderful interview. I will for sure have Jessalyn come in again. She's my friend from TikTok. She's been a wonderful friend, a friend that I just found on TikTok. And I was glad to have her on. So without further ado, I will give to you Jessalyn Milford. Welcome to Italo's Black Talk Radio. Italo's Black Talk Radio. I'm really obsessed about my background, so sorry about that. So this is Italo from Italo's Black Talk Radio. Hello, welcome to a new show. And as you can see, if you're on YouTube, I already have Jessalyn Milford on, and she looks wonderful. I love her earrings. I love her.
Thank you.
Everything. You're glowing today.
Thank you.
So, how you doing this morning?
Excellent. I'm having a really great few days, so super good.
Good.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, Jessalyn and we met through TikTok, and it was I don't know if it was my mistake, but Michaela, I don't know if it was on Michaela's live or during my live, she came on. We started talking about movies and how she loved the movies, and from then on, I started going on her lives, and she just blew up one day when she started reading tarot cards. People were very excited. I always tell her that she reminds me of Whoopi Goldberg in that movie Ghosts, where there's all these ghosts coming, and she's like, ah!
That's amazing.
It's great, but it's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah. Incredibly, yes.
So tell us, what is that? How has that been for you?
It's been super good. Like, I'm really enjoying the interactions that I'm having with people. You get a lot of pushy people that come in. My favorite are the people that come in and call me a Satanist or say that I'm channeling demons. I think it's glorious. I love it because I think it's hilarious. So it's been really good. But it does get really overwhelming, especially when we get one day there were 70 people and they all want something, right? So everybody's asking and it's impossible to follow. I had one of my moderators, Amanda, was taking a list, putting people's names down, and then we would do 10 at a time. And after it was over, when I said, I'm done, I can't do anymore, she started getting harassing messages from users on TikTok. They were mad that they didn't make a list or it didn't happen. And this is just something we're doing for fun, right? Like, I'm doing it because I'm having a good time. She's doing it because she's having a good time. So I stopped doing it that way because I don't think that that's very fair.
Right.
But it has been amazing. And I'm meeting a lot of really cool people. Right.
And then how do you respond to those people that call you a witch or a satanic? I don't know what they call you, but what do you say to those people? Like, what?
Well, first of all, I am very witchy, so that's fine. When somebody, my favorite is when they say that I'm channeling the demonic. Because number one, that's a terrible idea. Why in the world would I do that? Number two, I don't believe in demons in that way. So it doesn't bother me. Like, they're fun in movies, but I don't feel that that's a truth for me. So the next card I pull after they say that, I say to whomever's card, like to whomever it is, that the demons would like you to know that meditation is a really great idea, and just kind of fool around with it until they head off.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's just interesting to me that how people assume things and how people
Yeah, absolutely.
And TikTok is such a positive play, so it's well, you're gonna find them anywhere, but yeah, I mean, your advice to me so far and to whoever's listening on your lives is always positive. It's never meant to say this is what's gonna happen to you. You're gonna meet the man of your life today, or you're gonna be traveling. Right. You don't say any of those things, which is to me a little bit of you controlling the destiny of the people. Like, you're not doing that.
Right. No, and I would never presume to know. Like, we can do readings that are like 12 months, so you can do a full year. However, it still only gives you the feeling of the months, the energy around that month, based on whatever's happening cosmically at the time of the reading. So anything can change. When you leave your house today, if you decide to take the bus instead of walking, or you decide to drive, then each one of those things is going to change how your day was potentially going to go. So with so many choices to make and so many different ways to go, I don't believe that we can tell people exactly what's going to happen. We can give them an idea of what it will feel like, but it's up to you to make the decisions, right? Fate only controls so much of what happens, and then we have to do the rest of the work.
So it's up to us, basically, it's basically up to us. How do we dictate how our day is going to go? Whether you choose to go here or there, you're still in charge of your destiny.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I absolutely believe that. I do believe we have people that are put in our lives and put in our paths on purpose, and it happens organically. But I would never be the type to presume to know what someone else needs in their life. Because even with a card reading, especially when it's a single card, I don't actually know the person. So I don't know their situation. I don't know what they're facing today. So I can only give like that general feeling. And it seems that most people resonate when it happens. And that's enough confirmation for me that it's going the way that it's supposed to.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to, because just so you know, people that are listening or watching, we had a whole show the other day that went so well until I realized I wasn't recording. Yeah, that's one of the things that I had to learn the hard way, right? And not only that, but it taught me to overcome that obstacle that I always had, where I don't like to look at the people that I'm talking to. I don't know if that makes sense, but to me, it's more of a personal choice. Not that I don't like seeing myself. I'm not used to it. But it was like one of those things where I had to just do it. And then how perfect that you're the first one that, that I'm having, that I already know you a little bit, because it was like, it was like, oh my God, this is the worst scene ever, guys. But it's taught me something in that. That's one of the things that I can just check off the list as soon as we're done. And, it's a new venue, a new venture for me. And anything that's new is scary, is what I gather from that. And just overcome it and see how it goes.
Well, you're doing a great job so far.
Oh, thank you. And I have that background, guys, if you're on YouTube. um, but yeah. We were talking. So going back to what I was going to tell you or talk to you about was the reason that we started doing it in the first place. And there was talk about you had gone through a lot, as I have, with our parents. And we were talking about mothers and fathers and narcissism, and all those topics. And you had you had gone through a lot in order to get to where you are today. You look so relaxed. You look so composed. You look so
Thank you.
together. But people don't know the history of how you became the person you are today.
Right.
So tell us a little bit of what happened to where you are today.
So if we go all the way back to the beginning, in the beginning, there was me, and I was born and actually had a stroke at the time of birth. So I ended up with cerebral palsy, which is a birth injury. So that was difficult for most of my life. That was the beginning difficulties. And I had a narcissist mother and an alcoholic father. So neither of them were really taking care of my needs when it came to the cerebral palsy. I didn't ever have any physical therapy. I didn't see anyone. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 2 years old. And then my parents divorced when I was about 8. My mother met a new man, and we very quickly moved in with him and changed cities. And he was really great at first, but then turned out to be very abusive, verbally, emotionally, sexually. And that went on for years, from about the time I was 11 or 12 until I was 16. And then I got pregnant in high school. I moved out of my home and ended up in a relationship with another narcissist who was awful to me and awful to my daughter. And I was so lost that I just allowed it all to happen. So I spent about 4 years in that relationship, in that situation. And when that ended, I was out on my own, like truly on my own, I think, for the first time. And that's when I met my husband. And we got married shortly 2 years after, and have been together now for 13, or we've been together 15 years, married for 13. And when I met him, that was when my mind finally allowed itself to kind of open up and spill out all of these things that I had been taking on and carrying, dealing with narcissistic parents, dealing with trauma and abuse, both from a young age and then into my first real relationship. So it was at that point that my brain finally said, okay, we're safe, we're settled. You don't have to be afraid anymore. And then it all started to spill out. So for about the last decade, I've been working really hard to take care of my mental health and kind of resolve these things so that I can keep moving forward. And it hasn't been until this year that it finally felt like little bombs were going off, like these little things that were clicking and finally in place so that I could begin feeling like the person I always wanted to be. So I'm finally on my way. Like, I feel like I'm in the final stretch now, nearing the finish line. So it's pretty satisfying to look back and know that it started in such an odd place and got dark, and now here we are coming out on the light side, and I'm really loving that.
Right. And we have a similar story as well, right? So we were talking about how manipulative, well, in your case, I think it was more of I don't know if it was an overt narcissism that you were experiencing. in my case was more of a covert,
Right.
which is in Sep's opinion, because we were talking to Sep the other day, is more dangerous because it's so insidious, it's so creeping in. I didn't realize this until I was in my 40s, and I'm 48 now. So it's never too late to realize, you know. I mean, yeah, I was. Nobody around me knew what to tell me or knew how to advise me on it. They saw it, you know, they saw it and they experienced it, and they didn't say a word. So having your husband now be the enlightened witness, as they call them, he helped me as well, because there was nobody around and to tell me, like, I see this is happening. Why is your mother treating you this way? Why is she treating you this way? Was there anybody around you that, before your husband came in the picture, was there anybody around that told you, like, Jesseline, this is not normal? Like,
No.
like that?
I actually tried telling some people. When my mother's husband became sexually abusive is when I started trying to tell people. So I told my friends in high school, like, this is what's going on. And I mean, we were 15 years old, so the guys were acting tough, like they were going to come and, you know, beat him up. But then some of my other friends thought, well, there's no way, he's too nice. Your family looks so happy. I mean, we went skiing every winter. We went, we had a trailer at one of the big lakes. So we got to do things all the time. We went to theme parks. We did family stuff. So people believed that meant it had to be stable. So then I tried telling one of my aunts, on my father's side, and she called my mother to tell her that I was telling lies about her and her husband. So that was the last time I tried to say anything to anyone. And it wasn't until, I met a friend and we both kind of bonded over the same kind of thing. So she was the first person before Ryan, and it was only about 6 months before him. It was all happened very quickly.
Right. And it's I don't know if you had this, but it's in those moments that not only did I feel all alone, I felt like I couldn't trust anybody. I was afraid. I was actually afraid of going out and just driving off, because I didn't feel, I felt like everything had been a lie up until that point. And I don't know if you ever experienced that, where you couldn't trust. Who can you trust? You can trust.
Yeah.
You can even trust your own judgment.
Yep.
And yeah.
I think that was the hardest part, was not trusting yourself, especially when you have a narcissist in your life, because then they're gaslighting you. And it happened to me all the time. So before I got married, my nan, so my mom's mom, we had just lost her husband, so my granddad. And my mother wasn't invited to my wedding. Because I knew her behavior and didn't want anything to do with it, which was obviously very hard for me to go through getting married without my mom. I did have my dad. Him and I are friends now, and we have a great relationship. So that was great. But I invited my nan and my great nan. So like the rest of my mom's family is very, very small. Most of her family still lives in England. So there are only very few here who are still living. And I was sitting with my nan, and she was mad. She was so mad at me. Why does your father get to come to this wedding, but not your mother? And I kept telling her, you don't want to hear what I have to say. You don't want any part of this. But she kept pushing me and pushing me. So I told her all the things that had happened. She immediately disowned my mother, and she kept saying, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? And I don't know how you're supposed to answer that question. Because everybody I did tell decided that I was full of it. And I think she would have been the same way at the time as well. If I had said, hey, this is what's happening, I think there would have been excuses made. So that's when I told her mother about it. And so then obviously my nan contacted my mom and said, what is going on? What did you do? My mother, being the person she is, denied all of it, and sent me this nasty email about how dare I spread lies about her. So then if this is the way that somebody handles your story, no, these are lies, what you're saying isn't true, then you start to think, like, am I remembering this correctly? Or is it for real? Like, did I actually imagine this? So it's almost impossible when you have a narcissist in your life to be able to do any of that, because they gaslight you so bad and make you believe that you're incorrect. No, it didn't happen that way. So then we start to doubt our own selves. So if you can't trust yourself, how do you trust the people around you? Because you can't even trust your feelings on those people, because you have no idea what reality is anymore. So I think that's been one of the most challenging pieces.
So you reminded me of something that happened, because like I like to write and everything, but so I kept a journal. Sometimes I will keep a journal just to make sure that I'm not making this up, and I was trying to be as honest as I could, right? And it happened with my dad. He texted me one day and he told me all these things about me, and I decided to leave that text and not delete it, because, and some of the evidence, right? I see it as evidence. Like, this is what I'm going to use next time that I doubt myself, next time that I'm, about to call. I have to remind myself, look at the email, look at the whatever letter, just keep it, because that'll reassure you, like, you did not make this up.
Right. I have a couple of emails like that I've saved, or just taken screenshots of certain parts so that I can read that part and remind myself. But what a horrible thing to have to do, to remind yourself of how awful someone was to you, simply so you don't fall into their traps again.
Yep.
Right? It's insane. I don't have any relationship with my mother now. It's been 14 years approximately since the last time I really interacted with her, like on a level that was comfortable and like semi-happy. Everything since then has been either arguing or just complete cutoff. So I get the occasional message. She tries to get to people around me instead. To my dad's family, she tries to get to me through them. She was even going on to my Facebook and stealing pictures of my kids to print off and put in her house. Yeah, crazy. So she still does reach through, or attempts to. I've just learned to ignore all of it.
Does that make you at all guilty? Does it make you feel like, maybe just change, maybe I should,
No.
maybe get older, you know what I'm saying? Like,
not even a little bit, because I've done it so many times that I know this record, and it would be my fault if I kept playing it over and over again. So I know what's happening. I actually did at one point speak to her and say, I'm not cutting you off for life. I'm telling you that we need therapy. So when you can agree that we need to go to therapy and do this together, then we can start talking to each other, because it has to be built from the ground up, not as a mother-daughter relationship, but as a person-to-person relationship. I don't like you, and if we want to solve this, we need to start from the beginning. And she refuses to take part. So that's always open. If she were to call me tomorrow and say, okay, I've booked a therapy session and I would like you to come, I would absolutely be there.
Do you think that she has the self-awareness that what she's done to you at all? Or
No, absolutely not. I've brought it up a few times. I try not to talk about it with her too much because it just turns into a sob story about her life and how she was a victim in her own life. And I refuse to play that part for her or for myself. And yeah, sorry, totally lost my train of thought. Off it went into the distance.
Squirrel.
Yeah.
No, I understand it because, like I want to give. I am such a naive person because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I like you. I have given my parents, or especially my father, who I don't speak to anymore. I've given him so many chances and so many ways to make it up to me and or prove to him that I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions. So, but my mother is even more difficult for me. I even have struggles to this day to say no. Like she asked me just yesterday, she asked me, she's like, well, I'm going to go to the doctor's office and I need you to come and pick me up. And I was like, I couldn't say no. But at the same time, I was like, well, text me the day before. Because I know that if you text me the day before, I'd be like, I can't do it.
Right.
I have to like prepare myself for any favors or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to say no. I'd want right away. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to say yes.
Right. That's hard. That's super hard.
It's like a balance. Like,
yeah. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, it does.
Having to say no. Because we don't, I mean, as people who have suffered through trauma, we like to please other people. So it makes it incredibly difficult knowing that you're going to say something that somebody else is not going to appreciate and stand firm in what you're saying and the decisions that you're making. It's really, really difficult. If I didn't have Ryan, I don't think I'd be able to do it. He taught me how to do those things because he is that type of person. Mm-hmm. So he showed me how to properly say no and how to put myself first. So it's been a huge learning curve because I'm a mega people pleaser.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So am I. And yeah, it's just hard to say no because I want to be seen as the person that you can always count on.
Yep.
Be a good friend. I'm there to listen to you, but then it comes to a point where you're like, well, what about me when I need somebody?
Yes.
When I need to talk to somebody. And it's actually been really hard to find somebody that I can tell them everything that's happening to me without feeling that I'm being judged.
Yeah.
And luckily I found you because I'm like, finally somebody that can relate.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, your mom is so nice. And your mom, your dad, and my cousins are all telling me, like, you should call your dad. He's getting old and he's, he wants to move past this and move past that. I'm like, I'm past all that. So
right.
I'm good.
Right. I have one fear. If my mother were to pass away, that she would haunt me for real. That's my only fear. Like, if I found out today that she passed away, I would have a little bit of sadness. Like, I'm sorry that a life has been lost, but I would feel like I have no connection to her.
Yeah. Your earring is touching the thing. I hear like a click, click, click. Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. Every time I move my head, I'll take that one out. Every time I move my head, it clicks.
I love it. Yeah, like click, 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 click.
So yeah, my only real fear is that she would haunt me and make my life miserable because that's how much I care.
my mother told me, and this was in front of my boyfriend. He told me that she will always be with me, even beyond life. So when she dies, she's gonna be with me, and I didn't see it as creepy. He thought it was the creepiest thing ever. I'm like, hey, he's gonna haunt you forever and ever. I'm like, oh, yeah, that doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound like very much fun.
Right. And my she's always coming up with ways to guilt me into, like, she bought urns. So when she dies, she wants to be cremated. She already bought it. And I'm like, you mind sharing this with me before you bought it? And so she's already making plans as to what's going to happen when she dies. Like, she's always doing this. It's not even funny, right? And I'm like, at first I got upset because I'm like, well, I don't want to think about you when you die. Like, why do you have to bring it? Oh, wait, 10 minutes. Great. No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on.
That's okay. I hate that about Zoom.
Well, we can do a part 2. We got 10 minutes. That's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, she always guilts me into having me think what's going to happen when I die. I'm like,
right.
Well, I might die before you. Like, who knows?
Who knows? Exactly.
But there's always that hanging above my head.
Yeah.
Think about her when she dies, and
oh no, that's so terrible.
I feel what you're saying when you with you're being so spiritual and with the tarot cards, and you don't want to have that static.
No, I absolutely don't. I do actually have fear though, like even while talking about this stuff, that somehow she's going to hear it, or my dad's going to hear it, or somebody who doesn't like this story is going to hear it. I remember my sister, I have 2 sisters. One of them used to have a blog. She's hilarious. And she had said something about our mother and the way that she had treated us. And my mother found it and went on in the comments forever. Yeah. Do you want to know what she said? She actually said, I should have kept my legs closed all 3 times. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right? Cool. Thanks, Mom.
Wow.
Isn't that terrible?
It's terrible. Yeah. And I mean, do you allow, this is the point, another point is like, do you allow a friend, right, to tell you those things? And it's like, no, you wouldn't, right? But it's your mother. So do you allow your mother to do that? Is she supposed to be your friend?
I know it's so hard. And I understand this as well from the mother perspective, because my oldest daughter is very much like my mother. So I've said to her before, like, if you were anyone else, we wouldn't be talking to each other right now, because I wouldn't be okay with somebody treating me the way that you're treating me right now. So the only reason we're still talking is because you're my child. Because she's very similar in personality to my mother. Very, her way of thinking is very self-centered. And she gets mad and yells at me and berates me, right? So I'm kind of in the middle on either side with my mother and then with my daughter. But at least with my daughter, we can work on it because I see it, I know it. So let's do the things we need to do to repair and make sure that this relationship stays healthy from now until forever. So the same thing doesn't happen to us.
Right. So what do you think is the influence on your daughter? Who is the influence?
I don't know. She's always been that way. Ever since she was really little. So I think it's a personality trait. I do believe that she has some mental health illnesses herself, but won't see a doctor for it. So has decided that she doesn't need to know what's going on. So I think that she comes by it naturally. But I mean, her age as well plays into it, because at 22, we're very selfish. But she has that same kind of personality in that when she gets mad, she digs deep and finds the best way to hurt you so that the situation will change and she can get what she's actually asking for.
Okay. So basically she finds something in you that she can use as a weapon.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right from the time she was probably about 7 years old when I talked to her about our life, 8, when I talked to her about our life before, when things were bad. And I wanted to be nothing like my mother. So I apologized right away. I'm so sorry that I ever put you through this. You didn't deserve it. I'm sorry I wasn't a good mother. You deserve to have everything in this life. And I'm sorry I couldn't provide it for you. And as soon as I did that once, every single time something came up, she would pull that back out and say, hey, remember when, and just throw it at me. She did it as recently as 3 weeks ago, where she just she knows the things that hurt me, and pulls them out and throws them at me. So it's difficult, but I mean, she's young enough that I think we'll get through it and be able to actually find our way, because we are going to do counseling, family counseling. So that should be better.
Right.
I hope.
Right. Well, I hope it all works out. I know It's hard for when it's a family member. Yeah. And I cannot speak from experience because I haven't suggested this to my mother, to go to therapy with her.
Right.
And I feel very awkward about it. Like even talking about stuff with her. And so what I decided to do is just to put a boundary between us.
Yeah.
Even if she doesn't understand the term, because I didn't understand the term boundary. So just building those walls, and then just just open the window once in a while.
Yes.
Close it up,
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
We're going to see if this works or not. I don't want to...
Hopefully it does.
It's 3 minutes, but let's just say that this is going to be part 1.
Okay.
I do want to have a part 2, hopefully. But we have to see if this worked out.
Yeah, okay.
But I do want to thank you, Jessalyn, for calling.
Thank you so much.
We're going to talk more about these topics. But anything you want to say to your fans or your people that are following you?
Oh, can you imagine fans? What is that? I am just so blessed, honestly, that people have decided that they like my presence and want to include me as part of their lives, as small as it is. I am so honored that people feel that way. So I'm just kind of in awe about the whole thing. Right.
Well, then she's great. I'll follow you any day if you're live, just to say hi. Follow her on TikTok. You're very, you're very outspoken, very, generous. You're very welcoming. So anybody that wants to see her, if you want to have a reading from her, though, you want to give her, a message. I'm going to put all the information below, whether it's on TikTok, whether it's on email. And then they can contact you and you can, try a reading, or if you want to. If you don't think this is witchcraft or this is not the demonic, then she's good. She's good for it. You're a good witch.
A good witch, yes. Thank you, Victor.
So it says here we have less than a minute. So guys, you didn't see this coming. You didn't expect me to see me as I'm seeing Jessalyn here below.
So now you can understand what I was dealing with. I was trying to find out how to end the live, end the call, and recording all at once as I was trying to end the podcast. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you like to see me, if you just like to listen to me, if you're on Spotify or Anchor, of course, you don't even understand what's going on. But if you've seen me on YouTube and you like the way the show will be going forward, please make a comment below. Also, like, share, comment. If you'd like to see what topics you'd like to see, what guests you'd like me to interview. But this was a trial and error. I think it was successful the second time. And Jessalyn Milford was gracious enough to pay a visit and give a little bit of her time to me. And I really appreciate her as a guest and as my first Zoom guest to come on the air with Italo. And yeah, next time it will probably be better than the first time. As I always say, I like to always learn new things. They're scary to learn, but once I learn it, I think I will be able to master it. So thank you guys. You didn't see this coming.